Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pradivajagacharya Stotra Stotra Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pradivajagacharya Stotra Stotra Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai All glories to the Samo devotees All glories to the Samo devotees All glories to the Samo devotees All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga All glories to Srila Prabhupada Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Continuing our reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today's verse is Canto 3, Chapter 1, Questions by Vidura, text number 38. Kachchid Yashodha Rata Utapanam Gandiva Danvo Paratarir Aste Alakshito Yach Chara Kuta Gudho Maya Kirato Girishas Tutosha Kachid Yashoda Ratayutapanam Gandiva Danvo Paratarir Aste Alakshito Yach Charakuta Gudho Maya Kirato Girishastutosha Kachid Yashoda Ratayutapanam Gandiva Danvo Paratair Aste Alakshito Yach Charakuta Gudho Maya Kirato Girishastutosha Kachid Yashoda Ratayutapanam Gandiva Danvo Paratarir Aste Alakshito Yach Charakuta Gudho Maya Kirato Girishastutosha. Please chant.
Kachid Yashodha
Kachid Yashoda Ratayutapanam Gandiva Danvo Paratarir Aste Alakshito Yascharakuta Gudho Maya Kirato Girishastutosha Kachid Yashoda Ratayutapanam Gandhi Vadanvo Para Artiraste Alakshito Yascharakuta Gudho Alakshito Yascharakuta Gudho Maya Kirato Girishastutosha Kachid Yashoda Ratayutapanam Gandiva Danvo Paratarir Aste Alakshito Yascharakuta Gudho Maya Kirato Girishastutosha Mataji's Kaschid Yashoda Ratayutapanam Gandiva Danvo Paratarir Aste Alakshito Yascharakuta Gudho Maya Kirato Girishastutosha Kachid Yashoda Ratayutapanam Gandiva Danvo Paratarir Aste Alakshito Yascharakuta Gudho Maya Kirato Girishastutosha. Word for word. Kachit. Weather. Yashadaha. Famous. Ratayutapanam. Amongst the great chariot warriors. Gandiva. Gandiva. Danva. Bo. Uparatarihi. One who has vanquished the enemies. Aste. Doing well. Alakshitaha. Without being identified. Yet. Whose? Sharakudagudaha. Being covered by arrows. Maya. Kirataha. False hunter. Girishaha. Lord Shiva. Tutosha. Was satisfied. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: Please tell me whether Arjuna, whose bow bears the name Gandiva, and who is always famous amongst the chariot warriors for vanquishing his enemies, is doing well. He once satisfied Lord Shiva by covering him with arrows when Shiva came as an unidentified false hunter. Purport: Lord Shiva tested Arjuna's strength by picking a quarrel with him over a hunted boar. He confronted Arjuna in the false dress of a hunter, and Arjuna covered him with arrows until Lord Shiva was satisfied with Arjuna's fighting. He offered Arjuna the Pashupati weapon and blessed him. Here, Vidur inquired about the great warrior's well-being. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shriyata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Hitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Avadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatari Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shru Shru Shro Shradadhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirta Nishevanat Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidyantasto Hibadrani Vidunoti Suritsatam Nashta Prayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tada Rajastamo Bhava Kamalobhadayascha Ye Cheta Iter Navidham Stitam Satve Prasidati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Vidyate Hridaya Grantis Chidyante Sarva Samshayaha Shiyante Chasya Karmani Drishta Evatmani Shvare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam mangayati girim yat kripaham tamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. Okay. Yeah, Virgapati Prabhu mentioned this one day in class, and then Bhakti Vikas Swami even said the same thing, that sometimes devotees will chant verses in their Mangalacharana and we have no idea what they mean. I'm sure the Prabhus know this, but the Matajis, these are famous stanzas from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which Prabhupada quoted throughout his purports and even wrote prayers about them on the Jaladuta. So it behooves one to familiarize ourselves with these specific prayers from the first canto. So yeah, just to invoke auspiciousness. Today's verse is primarily about Arjuna, and Vidur is still questioning Maitreya. And a lot can be said about Arjuna, and there are two Arjunas specifically mentioned, the Katyavirya Arjuna, and but today we're hearing about the Pandava Arjuna. Katyavirya Arjuna was known for stealing a Kamadhenu, a wish-fulfilling cow. He went to the hermitage of a sage named Jamadagni. He went to his ashram. And anyways, I won't get too much into that story because today we're focusing on Pandava Arjuna, who is most famous. And yeah, today's verse, Vidur is asking about Arjuna, and Prabhupada is describing this incident. And Arjuna was going to Mount Kailash, which is the abode of Lord Shiva, and there he was engaging in meditation, performing austerities, and the story goes that Arjuna was hunting, and a boar was killed, and Lord Shiva came disguised and started to challenge Arjuna and said, "No, actually it was me who killed this boar." And so there was an argument between Arjuna and Lord Shiva, and finally a battle took place, and such powerful personalities fighting together. We can only imagine the kind of, the kind of strength and power that these, I guess you could call them persons, but these divine personalities had. Anyways, Arjuna became victorious, and Lord Shiva awarded Arjuna a special kind of weapon called the Pashupati, which I believe was an arrow.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. And Lord Shiva, was very pleased by Arjuna's prowess and awarded him this. And we see throughout the Mahabharata that I don't know so much about the Mahabharata, and actually, in fact, it's stated in the first canto, Srila Prabhupada writes that one shouldn't sit on the Vyasasana unless one is fully competent in all the different philosophies. So I remember reading that and feeling that, okay, here's my disqualification because I have no sort of understanding of all the different philosophies that are laid out, especially Mahabharata, Ramayana, what to speak of Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So, yeah, our only qualification is our disqualification. So, in any regards, I'm able to speak on this verse today. Arjuna is famous for having been awarded many celestial weapons by great personalities. And Pandava Arjuna is the son of Maharaj Pandu, the Kshatriya son. And Pandu ended up taking on a second wife. So Kunti Devi was calling upon different demigods to bear children. She bore Karna through her ear, and she was able to maintain her virginity. And Arjuna, of course, was born from the demigod Indra. Kunti could call for any of the demigods to come, so she asked Indra to come. So Arjuna was born from Indra, although his second father was technically Pandu. There's a lot of different details about the life of Arjuna, and Prabhupada gives a nice purport in the first canto, which I gleaned a lot of my context today from. It's in the first canto. Prabhupada describes the life of Arjuna, and there are many famous stories and pastimes that are in relation to Arjuna, and I'll try to touch on a few of them today. So Prabhupada is describing in today's verse this word yashadaha, meaning famous. And Prabhupada is writing that Arjuna is always famous amongst the chariot warriors for vanquishing his enemies. And in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were having this conversation. And Mahaprabhu asks Ramananda Roy, what makes a person famous? And Ramananda Roy replies that a person is famous when they're known as a devotee. And Arjuna is very exalted. I mean, Parthasarathi, he had the Supreme Personality Godhead come himself and drive his chariot. So what an extraordinary personality, God himself coming and giving protection to his devotee. And Arjuna is famous. And it's also stated that even if someone like Lord Brahma, very high personality in the material world, even if Lord Brahma is not a devotee, even if you're Lord Brahma, if you're not a devotee, then basically you're insignificant. But even if you're a small germ, even if you're a microbe, if you're a devotee, then you're most famous. Prabhupada is describing this. This is from the Narayana Vyahu Stava. So, what's most important is that one is a devotee. It doesn't matter if you're a great personality or have some great position in the material world. It's all temporary. But if you're a devotee, then you're all good. You're all glorious because you're connected to Krishna. Everyone, in one sense, is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Krishna likes to see that. Krishna gives special care to see that his devotees are glorified. And Lord Chaitanya actually continued this famous conversation, famous dialogue of Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy. And he was asking what Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Roy, what kind of person possesses the most who has the most wealth? And Ramananda Roy replies that a person who possesses love for Radha and Krishna, that they're actually the most wealthy. So one who's famous, one who's wealthy, of course, all of these characteristics belong to a devotee of the Lord. And a famous verse appears in the Bhagavad Gita. Sa evayam mayate dya yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetat uttamam. Krishna is telling Arjuna that because you are my friend, because you are my sakha, I will reveal to you this knowledge that is very confidential, it's very ancient, it's very old. So Arjuna is very dear, they're very closely connected. And even so much so that the Gita has so many amazing verses glorifying their relationship. And Arjuna is praying later on in the Gita that he's actually becomes too familiar with the Lord. He says, I'm laying down with you, or even eating on the same plate. But he's asking that he wanted to be instructed by Krishna. He didn't want to have this attitude of familiarity. So I basically spent this class preparing, researching, digging up all these different information about the life of Arjuna. And I'm quite incompetent, but there's a lot. And I don't think I can actually explain any of them or glorify them properly. Let me see here. The Swayamvar ceremony, that's a famous pastime. So, Maharaj Drupada wanted to have, I always have a difficult time explaining these stories. Maharaj Drupada was fighting with Dronacharya, and Arjuna came because Dronacharya was his martial arts teacher. So Dronacharya was being attacked, and Arjuna saved his martial arts teacher. And then Dronacharya awarded Arjuna, a special weapon where he could actually kill his teacher. And Dronacharya was actually he was foreseeing the battle of Kurukshetra to take place because Dronacharya was on the other side. And there's a verse like that in the Gita where Arjuna is saying, how can I kill my elders, my teachers, even the person who taught me the military science? How can I kill him? I'll be just involved in all sorts of sinful reactions if I engage in this warfare. And Maharaj Drupada wanted to award the hand of Draupadi to Arjuna, but King Drupada found out that Arjuna was killed, so to speak, in the house of Shalak. So then he arranged for this Swayamvar ceremony to take place where the hand of his daughter could be won by a qualified Kshatriya. Not a Brahmin specifically, but a Kshatriya had to win the hand of Draupadi. And only an expert bowman such as Arjuna could win such could come out victorious in such a ceremony, because the mission or the target was basically impossible. There was a fish that was hanging from the ceiling or something like that, and the reflection was only seen on a pool of water, and the person holding the bow had to shoot the eye of the fish without even they're looking with one eye or something like that. It's some extraordinary target that you really can't have an understanding or imagine of how expert you'd have to be in wielding a bow to shoot the eye of a fish without even looking at it. But anyways, yeah, it's a very famous pastime, and there's many stories about this, but yeah, the Swayamvar ceremony is one where Arjuna is glorified for his expertise. Because his bow, his weapons are famous. His Gandiva bow, he was awarded many different celestial weapons by demigods. The Pashupata Astra was awarded to him by Lord Shiva. He was given another weapon by Lord Yamaraj called the Dandastra. Varuna gave Arjuna a Pashastra. Kuvera gave him the Antandarastra, and Indra gave him his weapon Rajra. So, yeah, he was fully decked out, you could say, with all sorts of heavenly, celestial, powerful weapons, and he had all of the, he had all the power on his side. And interesting enough, the grandson of Arjuna, Parikshit Maharaj, in describing the battle that took place at Kurukshetra, Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, there was a lot of powerful enemies fighting against Arjuna. And so Parikshit Maharaj, the grandson of Arjuna, was saying that, I don't think my grandfather will actually be able to compete with these powerful warriors like Bhima, Duryodhan, Karna was there, and these other warriors were compared to Timingalas, the mighty fish in the ocean. And Arjuna was just compared to a Timmy, just a little fish. And even his grandson was admitting, he says, I don't think he's going to be able to win this war. But the point being that because Krishna was on Arjuna's side, that only by the grace of Krishna was Arjuna able to come out victorious, because the other warriors on the side were so mighty and so powerful. And yeah, it's a very interesting point that everything is depending on the mercy of God, of Krishna, the Supreme Lord. And even we can see in the pastime of the demigods and the demons fighting, the demons actually came out victorious because they pleased their spiritual master, Shukracharya, where in the case of the demigods, they displeased their guru, Brihaspati, and therefore there was no auspiciousness on their side, because if one can please the bona fide spiritual master, then anything is possible. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado. But yeah, if one displeases the representative of the Lord, then there's only havoc on the path of such a person. And yeah, that's the whole reason Arjuna was victorious in winning this, because yeah, Krishna was on his side. He was personally driving his chariot. And there's a nice shlok given by Chanakya Pandit in regards to this topic of famous, Arjuna being famous. Chanakya Pandit says that one who does something substantial, that they'll live forever. Kirtir yasya sajivati. And Prabhupada was explaining this to his disciples, and the devotees were saying, well, Prabhupada, you will never die. And Prabhupada was saying, no, I am an old man. But his disciples were, encouraging, saying, you'll live forever, because Prabhupada's activities are so glorious. But in his humility, he was saying, I'm just an old man. I'm getting very old now. You'll have to, carry on this mission. But one who does something magnanimous, they're famous. And devotee is also famous for how many devotees they also create, how many people they bring under the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Another famous story given glorifying the qualities of Arjuna is Indradev, his father, invited him to the heavenly planets, and there he was tempted by Urvashi, who was a heavenly society girl. And in the heavenly planets, they don't have sort of the standards or moral codes that exist within this planet that Earth we're familiar with. So Urvashi was tempting Arjuna, and she says, I'm very attracted to you. And Arjuna, understanding Urvashi's position, she was actually a mother to the his brothers. So she was elderly, but she was trying to convince him, saying that, we don't really follow these things in this realm. I've enjoyed with many people, like yourself. But Arjuna was fixed in his character, and he had impeccable character. So he just told her that, well, you are just like my mother, so I cannot please your desire. So, yeah, this story is explaining the tolerance of a Vaishnava, even though there are so many temptations or what may have you. One may desire to enjoy material opulence or whatever it may be, whatever material facility is there. That the devotee is happy because they're getting relishing a higher taste. And there's even a famous prayer that Prabhupada quotes all the time about Bilvamangala Thakur. He says that Bhaktis Twai Stitatara Bhagavan Yadi Syad Daivena Na Palati Divya Kishora Murtihi Mukti Swayam Ukalitanjali Sevate Sman Dharmarta Ama Kataya Samaya Pratikshaha. Bilvamangala Thakur is praying that because I am engaged in your devotional service, I can perceive your presence everywhere. And these material opulences such as dharma, religiosity, artha, wealth, and kama, sense gratification, these things are all insignificant. And in fact, liberation comes to my doorstep with folded hands. Mukti Anjali, that liberation comes herself at the doorstep of the devotee, giving all sort of facility. And it's secondary, actually. The devotee doesn't aspire for liberation. That's our motto here at Krishna Life. It's beyond liberation. Devotional service is most exalted, most coveted position, actually. It's very, very special to have this title, Das or Dasi. It's the most coveted position, actually, because Krishna becomes controlled by the love of his devotees. And the servant enjoys millions of times more. That's why Lord Chaitanya came to relish that experience. Yeah. And the greatest thing is actually to just keep oneself in that submissive spirit. Prabhupada was explaining this yesterday in this lecture that we heard towards the very end. Prabhupada said, do not become proud. He says, if you remain a humble servant, he says, then you'll be happy. So, yeah, it's important. We should always be in that mood of das anudas. Yeah, don't become proud. Let me see here. Janardhan, do you have could you pull up a verse for me? Yeah. This is a verse about Lord Shiva. It's the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 7, Text 14. This is in connection to today's verse. Yep, go to the English. Yeah. My dear, great, and powerful Lord Shiva, you were created first from the mouth of Lord Brahma in order to protect the Brahmins in pursuing education, austerities, vows, and self-realization. As protector of the Brahmins, you always protect the regulative principles they follow, just as a cowherd boy keeps a stick in his hand to give protection to the cows. So yeah, this word Pashupati, this is a name of Lord Shiva, because he gives protection to the animals, the Pashus. And yeah, go to this translation again, Janardhan. I really like this last sentence here, referring to, yeah, just as a cowherd boy keeps a stick in his hand to give protection to the cows. And yeah, I'm just adding this just as a little plug to glorify cow protection. I've been reading this book that Vishnu Chitta Prabhu gave me. I mean, there's so many stories about cow protection, specifically the benefits of protecting mother cow, father bull. I mean, it's all religious, and it's actually required that we have the shelter of cows, actually. Lord Krishna is inseparable from cows, and his pastimes are also, you can't associate Lord Krishna without cows. So the pastime, Krishna is inseparable from his cows. So yeah, it's very important that cows are given proper protection, because, yeah, we say cow protection, but actually the cows are the ones protecting us. And yeah, there's a story actually given. This is just a booklet Vishnu gave me. And there's tons of stories in here from the Puranas and the Mahabharata. And interesting enough, there's a story that's from the Mahabharata when the Pandavas are in exile, and they had to go incognito, and they all disguised themselves as different personalities, and specifically Sahadev, one of the younger brothers, Nakula and Sahadev. Sahadev was expert in managing cows, and he disguised himself, and he was taking over a Goshala in King Virat, in the kingdom of Virata's kingdom. And so they had to remain incognito for a whole year. And yeah, the time was passing, and the Kauravas were searching for them. And the time was running out, actually, because the year was almost expired. And they were given a hint that, wherever Yudhishthira Maharaj is, then there'll be cows that are really nicely maintained, and they'll be happy. So they were searching and searching and searching, and finally they found where the Pandavas were hidden, where they're incognito. And so they eventually attacked that kingdom and tried to besiege the cows. And anyways, they were somewhat successful, but Arjuna was actually left there, and he was disguised as, I forgot the name that he took up. He became a eunuch. I can't remember. It's very interesting. Anyways, he was disguised as a eunuch and, teaching dancing and stuff like that. And anyways, this army came to take all the cows, and then Arjuna was there single-handedly, and he managed to kill off all of these soldiers that were there. And yeah, it just goes to, glorify Arjuna more. But yeah, even in disguise, even as a eunuch, he was able to ward off all of these enemies. And yeah, I mean, you can say so much about cow protection and glorifying, dharma, the bull, religiosity, mother cow, she gives milk, everything necessary for life. But until we actually, get to that stage, it's a little impractical to, we can glorify book distribution so much, but if we're not actually going out and hitting the streets and following Prabhupada's orders, it's like, what's the big deal? But anyways, I was speaking with a Prabhupada disciple last night, Sureshwar Prabhu, a very exalted devotee. He joined in 1970, and he was a part of Gita Nagari in the heyday. He was at New Vrindavan for many years, and he was describing to me of Gita Nagari, and that was probably the most successful, well, I guess New Vrindavan and Gita Nagari, those are probably the most successful farm projects in America. Back in the days, though, back in the 70s and 80s, it was successful. But now, in the present time, there are a few projects going on. New Talavan is the most advanced in self-sufficiency, as Dewey Puja Prabhu himself said. But yeah, Gita Nagari was doing quite well in the early days, so much so that they won an award for their herd of cows. They were taking care of brown Swiss cows, and they were noticed by the state of Pennsylvania, and they were given an award for having the best herd of brown Swiss cows in the entire state. So they went to a award assembly, and they brought all of their different cow products, their ice cream, and they brought cheese and a bunch of Bengali milk sweets. And yeah, they were there dressed up, tilak, dhoti, shaved head, and the rest of the folks there were just, in their Sunday best, wearing overalls and just a bunch of country farmers. And they were quite surprised because Suresh Prabhu was telling me that the farmers actually thought that the devotees were like Martians or something because they just looked so different, you could say. They looked different. Anyways, you can't argue with success. They were given the #1 award for having the best herd of brown Swiss. There are many different herds like Holstein and Jersey cows and everything, but they had the best in their segment. And the farmers were questioning them. How do you do it? Sure, but how do you survive, or how do you maintain? That was their question to the devotees, because the farmers in that area, sure, they would milk their cows, but then, once the cows aren't giving milk, they're taken to slaughter. And by doing that, the farmers make money. So they're maintaining their operation on the slaughter of the cow. And what to speak of the bull, maybe the bull lives for 2 years, and it's killed either as a young calf or veal, or later on for whatever. Anyways, it's a hellish situation. But the devotees were preaching to them and asking or telling them that, well, if you see these animals as like your parents, the bull is like your father. And they were explaining to them how they're growing their own grains and using the cow to plow the fields, the bull to plow the fields and everything. And yeah, the cow, when you're young, you take your mother's milk, and that makes you healthy. But throughout your whole life, you're taking the milk from the cow. So they're, trying to explain to them that actually these animals are like our parents. And the cows are actually much happier when they're in this loving relationship with the humans. And they live a lot longer. The cow feels inclined to give more milk because there's this affection between the cow and the devotee, you could say. Yeah, the devotee. The devotees love the cows. And Krishna is glorified in so many different ways. I mean, even on the cover of this book, the pastime is explained where Krishna was herding the cows, and Mother Yashoda was telling him that, well, you shouldn't go and herd the cows because when you go off into the pasture lands, you're going to step on all these thorns. She says, better you wear some shoes. And Lord Krishna says, no, I don't want to wear shoes because none of these cows have shoes. And I think he asked Mother Yashoda, I will only wear them if all of them also have slippers to wear. So I think there was like 9,000 cows or something, and they all had some, sandals fashioned for them or something. So Krishna cares. Krishna cares about the cows. So, yeah, Krishna willing, hopefully we'll have some cows on our side eventually, because like His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj said himself, book distribution without farm communities is like trying to clap with one hand. And yet we can't really call ourselves Hare Krishnas if we're not giving the proper facility for the protection of cows. It's very serious, actually. And Prabhupada wanted it so much. Prabhupada was so serious about it. And we're a new project. We're quite immature. I myself at least. But yeah, there's a lot of work and progress that needs to take place in order for us to become actually situated and protected by the culture of Krishna consciousness. Yeah, the cow is amazing. The cow gives manure to fertilize the fields, and yeah, even recently I was hearing about there's many different species of cow. One that's common in India, you'll see these gyr cows. They have a hump on their back. Very beautiful animal. And specifically, the gyr cow has a special vein in its back called the Surya Ketu Nadi. And it's a vein that travels on their spine. And researchers, anyways, this is described in the Shastra and everything, but scientists have done analysis of this. And yeah, it's just basically solidifying the holy cow itself. They've analyzed the urine of gyr cows, and there are actually gold particles found in the urine of gyr cows. So this Surya Ketu Nadi, this vein, is somehow connected to the sun. It's very, very interesting. The cow itself is, what a special animal. Krishna loves the cows. And yeah, we're endeavoring to acquire some land so we can welcome the cows, so we can engage in their service. Yeah, cow protection. The cows are the ones who will actually protect us. Yeah. Arjuna is Krishna's friend. There's a famous verse also in the prayers of Queen Kunti. Shri Krishna Krishna Saka Vrishni Vrishabhani Durg Rajanya Vamsha Dahana Napavarga Virya Govinda Go Dvija Sarati Saravatara Yogeshvara Kila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. Yeah, Krishna is being glorified as the friend of Arjuna. He comes to annihilate the miscreants. He's given protection to the cows, the Brahmins, like that. And yeah, it's our duty as devotees to follow Dharma. Yeah, to speak more about Arjuna, it's only because of Arjuna do we have access to the great philosophical discourse of the Bhagavad Gita. And as devotees, we should make an effort to deeply understand and contemplate the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, because it'll be for our own spiritual benefit. And when we ourselves enjoy and relish the process of Krishna consciousness, then and only then will we be able to impress this upon the hearts of others. So we have to take advantage of Srila Prabhupada's books, Bhagavad Gita specifically in the beginning and even until the end. Every day we should hear Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada said, actually, I want my students to cram Bhagavad Gita. Should cram it in their minds, their heads. Yeah, the teachings are so delightful. What's not to love about the Bhagavad Gita? And you can read it over and over and over again. Prabhupada says it's actually all the different scriptures of the world, all the teachings are found within the Bhagavad Gita, but even further, teachings that are laid out within the Bhagavad Gita aren't found in other scriptures of the world. And there's a nice verse in the very beginning. I think this is in the introduction of the Gita. Prabhupada is quoting from the Gita Mahatmya, and he's making this analogy of the Gita being like a cow, and the Gita Upanishad, the Bhagavad Gita, is like a cow, and Arjuna is like a calf. And this is a shloka. Krishna is compared to a cowherd boy, and yeah, the devotees or learned scholars, they drink this milk, which is coming, in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. So, yeah, we should be like eager calves. If you've ever seen calves who are going to see their mother and drink the milk, it's like a sight. They'll hop up and down and prance and kick, and then they go and latch themselves to the bosom, to the udder of the mother, and they'll move their head, and it almost looks painful. Actually, they're like forcing the milk to come out of the udder, and they're little, they're little ferocious creatures. They're quite gentle in one way, but anyways, they're very rambunctious baby calves. But yeah, we should be like that, to have such urgency, and yeah, it's life or death. We can't, just like a calf couldn't survive without the mother's milk. We as practicing devotees won't make it if we're not drinking from the nectar of Srila Prabhupada's books on a daily basis. And we can do that, whatever capacity we're able to. Some days you may be overwhelmed or swamped with services. You may not be able to read for an hour. But if one is endeavoring to please the devotees and to advance the Krishna consciousness mission, you may sit down and even just read one verse, and that verse will have such an impact on your consciousness that you'll feel you'll feel your hair standing on end because you're actually trying to please Krishna and his devotees. Whereas, like a mundane scholar or someone who doesn't have attraction or a deep understanding of devotional service, they can read, over and over and over and over again Bhagavad Gita, but they won't have any. Reciprocation. Mahotsa Prabhu quotes this verse all the time. Tarko pratishta shrutayo vibhinna na yasya rishir yata na binnam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam maha jano gena gata sapantaha. That, there are many different explanations given, but dry arguments, that won't do either. But the true religious principles are actually hidden within the heart of an unadulterated devotee, and therefore we should follow whatever path the Mahajans advocate. Because the Mahajans are like trailblazers. They set forth the way, they chalk out the path for conditioned souls to attain liberation, the ultimate goal, the paramgati, the highest goal of life, attaining love for God. But it's not that the trail itself is easy. I mean, they blaze the trail, but we ourselves have to make ourselves competent enough to at least, if you're going to hike up a mountain, it's like a 5-mile trek. It's going to be some work. It's not that it's just, okay, it's going to be easy and I'll just, I'll just enjoy. No, it's a lot of hard work. It's we're going against the flow or the current of the material energy. Senses are so stubborn and obstinate, and the default setting of the material world is to forget Krishna. So we have to always be redirecting ourselves, bringing ourselves back on track. If you've ever tried to stand on one foot in like a tree, like the yoga pose, tree pose, you'll find that actually always have to make adjustments. And little minuscule, minute adjustments here and there to actually remain balanced. So to be balanced is meaning, you're always having to make adjustments. And Prabhupada was making this point yesterday in this short class that we heard about education. Specifically, Prabhupada was mentioning Brahma Vidya, educating ourselves about Brahman. But society is interested in, Prabhupada uses the term Shilpa Vidya, meaning like, facility, architecture, stuff like that. We shouldn't be concerned about like mundane education or mundane knowledge, basically. And Prabhupada was making this point, actually, which I thought was kind of hilarious. He says, many Indians now are coming to America to learn how to polish motor cars. And they're leaving the great wealth and heritage of India to come pursue material advancement, which, it's kind of like, here's a bunch of nectar, but instead, I'll take the poison, Very interesting. Sorry, I'm a little sporadic. I need to become better at speaking, but time is almost over. But interesting enough to talk more about the Mahabharata. Well, I guess this is about the Bhagavad Gita specifically, but this is just describing like the glorious activities or qualities, characteristics of those that are in Krishna's Leela. And Dronacharya, the martial arts teacher of the Pandavas, Prabhupada is describing, it's in the Bhagavad Gita, it's in the first chapter. Sanjaya is there, and Sanjaya is relating to Dhritarashtra, that, Dhritarashtra is blind, and Sanjaya had a connection with Vyasadeva, so Sanjaya was able to see the battlefield and tell Dhritarashtra what was going on. So Dhritarashtra is asking, what are my sons doing? What are the sons of Pandu doing? And, what's basically going to happen? And it's going on to explain that, there are many great fighters, and Dronacharya specifically, he taught the martial arts to Drishtadyumna, who was his disciple, and who actually, I forgot, was that? Anyways, so there's Dronacharya. He taught Drishtadyumna how to fight, and I forgot who told Drishtadyumna, or who told Dronacharya. Anyways, Drishtadyumna was trained in such a way that he would eventually be powerful enough to kill his own teacher. But despite all that, Dronacharya said, I'll continue just teaching him. He's very liberal. The Brahmins are very liberal. And it's difficult to understand. How could you be so, I don't even know how to explain it, kind or merciful, that you train someone and then you make them so exalted and powerful and glorious. You share all of your knowledge and wealth with them, and then you're okay with them actually just, killing you in the end. Is like, wow, like that's really selfless. So this is a verse in the beginning of the Gita. It's described a Dhimata that is very intelligent. He's my disciple, never mind, even if he'll kill me in the future. I still should follow my duty, my dharma, and I'll train him properly. Doesn't matter what the outcome is, success or failure. It's just I have to stick to my duty. It doesn't matter. And Arjuna was actually feeling that way. He was becoming a little bereaved, you could say. His bow, Gandiva, was slipping from his hands. And he didn't want to fight because he was just seeing everything inauspicious could come from this. But Krishna was reassuring him, saying that, well, if you don't fight, all these people know about you're very famous, but if you leave this battle, then you will basically lose your reputation as a great fighter, a great chariot fighter, this Maharati. And they'll basically insult you, and for a honorable person, dishonor is worse than death. So it's not that you'll go to hell by fighting this battle. You'll actually, attain the heavenly planets. You'll actually go to hell by not fighting. And Arjuna was hesitant, but after some consultation, you could say, Arjuna, armed with the power of yoga, Arjuna, was able to fight by Krishna's mercy like that. So we should never deter from our service. A devotee once said that your seva will save you. Mm-hmm. So we should be attached to the service, and also we should be even more attached to the devotees that are facilitating that service for us. Just a couple more points here. Very interesting. In this verse, Vidura is inquiring about the well-being of the great warrior. Prabhupada writes this in the purport in the last sentence. He says, here Vidura inquired about the great warrior's well-being. I thought that was very interesting. So, I was thinking, like, as devotees, we should make all arrangements to see that our core practices are given proper attention, the great warrior's well-being. We should have proper sadhana, we should have proper sangha, And we should also take care of our health in a way that we don't become deterred or disturbed. But yeah, I mean, I think it's very important. Prabhupada always stressed that, health, sadhana, seva, like that. The great warrior's well-being. So, yeah, a devotee is concerned with their own well-being and also about, the welfare of all living entities. Prahlad Maharaj would pray like that he's just concerned about all these fools and rascals. Yeah, we should be satisfied. This word is also given in today's verse, to toshta. We should be satisfied as Arjuna satisfied Lord Shiva in that confrontation. Shiva was saying, "No, actually, I killed this boar." And anyways, Arjuna won him over, and Lord Shiva became satisfied with him. So yeah, we ourselves as devotees, we have to practice the principles in the Bhagavad Gita. And there's a famous verse, Yadricha Labha Santushta, that one should be satisfied with gain that comes from its own accord. And yeah, we should practice, at least try to practice the recommendations that are given in the Bhagavad Gita and familiarize ourselves and dedicate our lives to the narrations of the Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. And yeah, and we should help others become interested. I was just hearing yesterday a nice lecture, and this devotee was asking, what is the real wealth of the Krishna consciousness movement? And one could say, well, the wealth of the Krishna consciousness movement, is it many? Is it big temples, or is it, is it lots of Lakshmi? What is the real wealth of the Krishna consciousness movement? And Prabhu was actually going on to explain that the real wealth is devotees. And if you build some big temple, but there are no devotees there to, dance and chant and sing and, be happy, what's the point? So, yeah, if we have all these facilities, nice cars, or, you dress nicely or something, yeah, the real wealth is devotees. And when you make happy devotees, and then those devotees will stick around, and then they'll attract people because the devotees themselves are happy, and then they'll be able to attract newcomers because Krishna consciousness is all attractive, and the material world is just full of nonsense, and nothing good is here to offer. And yeah, I just thought that was a really nice point, that the real wealth is actually the devotees. And without that, everything is just null and void. So, yeah, I don't have too many other things to say. I could probably talk about cows more, but I don't want to go off too many tangents, although my mind is pretty tangential. But yeah, I try to glorify Arjuna and try to stay true to some of the things that were given in the purport and the translation. Yeah, one other thing I wanted to mention about Yudhishthira Maharaj, how he was famous wherever his kingdom was, that all the cows there were protected. And Yudhishthira is famous as a Haridasya Varya, and there are 3 Haridasya Varyas, meaning the topmost devotees. So there's Yudhishthira, and then there's Uddhava, and the last devotee, who's the best of all, is Govardhan Hill. And there's a nice verse that explains this, and chant it. Hantayam advira bala haridasya varyo yad rama krishna charanas parasha pramodaha manam tananti sahago ganayastaror yat pani yasuya vasakanda nakanda mulai. This is a verse glorifying Govardhan Hill, because Govardhan Hill provides all things that are necessary for life. And Govardhan Hill appears very jubilant because it's actually being touched by the lotus feet of Rama and Krishna. And on the hill, there's all these different caves and fruits and flowers and roots, and the cows are going there and they're drinking from the ponds. And you can see in this picture in the middle there in the center, there's these little Govardhan Shilas there, and they look so brilliant and cute. Yeah, Vrindavan is such a special place. And particularly, Govardhan Hill is especially near and dear to the associates of Lord Chaitanya. Anyways, that's one of my favorite verses. And I'll stop there if there are any comments or questions about today's class, or anything about any stories we could churn about Arjuna.
Cowherd boy, he said.
Arjuna is a cowherd boy?
Different name Arjuna. Third Arjuna, he said.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. All the inhabitants of Vrindavan, live very simple lives. Yeah. I was hearing this actually, that they're very simple people, and for a simple person, knowledge won't necessarily help them, And the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they were comparing this knowledge to be like the sun. And the sun, when it's very hot, it'll scorch a delicate flower. So the residents of Vrindavan, they're saying, we don't want this knowledge. The residents of Vrindavan, they're saying, rather, we want this moon. We want the moon, which is compared to Krishna's beauty. There's knowledge for the jnanis, but devotees, they're interested in Krishna's beauty. So that beauty is compared to the moon. It's very cooling, very soothing. But we're just simple village people. We're just like farmers. There's Anyways, I'll have to do more research about Arjuna as a cowherd boy. There was probably more capable devotees to speak on this verse. I don't have such a wealth of knowledge about the Mahabharata and everything, but I have to familiarize myself more with the Mahabharata. I haven't read it. Okay, anything from the Matajis? Oh, and Mother Anaya.
I was just going to make a comment about, I like the point you made about how to remain balanced, we have to sometimes make some adjustments, because I find myself in a lot of ruts and I lose my direction, or I feel like I'm losing my mind a lot. But I just like that point. It's helpful.
Yeah, it's like being on a tightrope. And it helps to be around those who have practiced longer and to take that guidance and association. Because in the beginning, it is difficult to find that balance, but once you kind of find that sweet spot, it's actually easier to remain there, because it's just better. Feel a lot better. I mean, the difference between focused rounds and inattentive rounds is like night and day, And the difference between just being regulated in devotional service and we wake up early all the time, but anyways, it's regulation is very important. Krishna stresses that in the Gita, that if you're regulated in your habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work, you can mitigate all of the material pains by practicing this yoga system. That's a verse, I think, in the 6th chapter. But it's a constant readjustment, constant alignment. Being balanced. You're always having to make tiny, minuscule adjustments. But But the important thing is you should never become discouraged. I'm not saying that you are, but anyways. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.